My prem, my prem namaste to you and a very warm welcome to a very special Back to the Vedas presentation this evening. Dear friends, gender-based violence affects too many people in our community, often in silence. To change that, we at the Arya Samaj are having a rethink, and we are actually having a deeper look at the gender-based violence that is taking place in our country. Last year, we set up we are working towards setting up a support desk, and today we are honored to have with us two very strong, young, vibrant ladies that are going to take us through a journey pertaining to working in communities to solve with GBV and other psychosocial issues. So, just a little bit about the Arya Samaj work that we were doing for the gender-based violence. It falls under the ambit of the HEAL Foundation, and we are looking at setting up a desk so that we can train our priests and even our dedicated members that would like to serve the community through the desk that we are setting up in Pietermaritzburg. But that's not just the only center, it's going to be in other centers. So today we have two wonderful sisters, beautiful young ladies that have joined us, and one of them is Shiksha, who is quite involved in social work, and I'd just like to just share some information about her. Shiksha serves as the Africa lead for talent and organization. She brings Accenture's global capabilities to address complex social issues impacting lives of people in the developing world. Shiksha brings 20 years of extensive experience in HR consulting, particularly in learning and development, change management, culture, leadership activation, and skills development. As a specialist in her field, Shiksha has gained invaluable international experience working with organizations to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, and in her spare time, she's an activist against gender-based violence and other humanitarian efforts to address inequality and unlock potential, whether working in corporate boardrooms or rural communities. So, dear friends, we are very honored to have a young lady who is pursuing this path and working towards growth, development, and bringing her expertise to the Samaj and to the HEAL Foundation. Supporting her in this Back to the Vedas workshop that we are having today is her sister, her elder sister, Roshiela Benimadho, who is a senior public prosecutor in the National Prosecuting Authority. She has a BA, LLB, and several certifications in cybercrimes. She manages a team of prosecutors that focuses on targeted prosecutions, serious and violent crime, police corruption and serious fraud, and cybercrimes. She is passionate about educating the community on crimes and affecting them, including gender-based violence. So, dear friends, we have two professional, as I said, young up-and-coming friends, colleagues, and ladies that are part of our organization, and they are here with us today to share, to give us some sort of direction, and to give us an indication of how we can grow this desk that we are about to set, and also at the same time bring an awareness of the scourge that is creating so much of problems in our society, and that is gender-based violence, 16 days of activism, and various other problems that we experience in our community. So I'm going to hand you over to our two presenters this evening. So between the two young ladies, I believe maybe Shiksha, you are going to start? Okay.
Sure.
Shiksha, you got the floor, and you can take us through the process.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for the beautiful welcome. Prem Namaste, everyone. And very excited to be here today to talk about all the work that we do as we talk about some of the things around gender-based violence, and for most of you that have seen some of our Facebook posts, we know that you would know that at the Heal Foundation, we don't really just talk about, change. We really do work on the ground. We deliver on the ground, and we do this in communities that need it the most. So today we really want the opportunity to walk you through some of the things that we have done over the last couple of years since the initial opening of Heal Foundation. And there's a whole board that sits behind the Heal Foundation. And both Roshiela and myself and various of the other board members said, how do we actually take the skills that we have and we use in our everyday lives and be able to formulate something that's going to be impactful for the communities? And this is how we've come to some of the initiatives that we have been able to drive today under the leadership of a really great director. As you can see on the screen here, some of the things that we'll talk about, and we really want to walk you through the journey. And I want to take you to Malagasy, as you can see on the screen. When we talk about Malagasy, it's really a settlement of about 30,000 people. And for some of you that have done some of the hamper drives with us or the stationary drives, would be able to see the small area that everybody kind of lives in. And 39% of that population of that 30,000 that sit or live in Malagasy actually are made up of children. So the challenges that Malagasy face is really around gender-based violence, around teenage pregnancy, prostitution, and poverty. And these are just not just statistics, right? But these are like the daily realities of the families, the children, the woman itself that they are going through. And we've realized that some of these issues don't exist in isolation. There is mental health concerns, there's suicide risk, GBV, it's deeply interconnected in the community itself. And so we cannot address one area without addressing the other areas. And so when we came up with a program which we're going to talk to you about now, it's really about saying what is the deeper psychosocial aspects that is needed through this. And I guess that's the reason for us taking a very holistic approach to how we look at gender-based violence and how we work through some of the challenges that we have. We know that we definitely can't do things in isolation. And so partnerships become increasingly important for us at the desk. When we talk about partnerships, we talk about how do we create collective impact. And so we've partnered with Love Life to talk about what does HIV/AIDS, prostitution, and gender-based violence. Roshiela has very kindly brought her colleagues over to do things from the National Prosecuting Authority perspective and to run sessions on cyberbullying, because we know abuse is also online and communities need to be equipped for that. Whether they're young or they're old, everybody seems to be scammed now. And we've also partnered with Lifeline very recently to upskill some of the HEAL volunteers with the right tools. They say that, most of them come to these HEAL volunteers to seek some advice the minute they are abused, and they are the frontline defense and first line responders. And so we brought in Lifeline and the NPA to help them through that process as well. So this is the work that we've been doing in the Malagasy area. And I guess, today talking about why we're here and navigating the present is around Pietermaritzburg and the work that we've done to facilitate a session. Now, I mean, this kind of takes us back to, the purpose of us being an organization. And, some of the principles we look at from an Arya Samaj perspective. But within the communities, and, just mind me as I say this, as I may not be politically correct, but, in other religious organizations, there's a lot of support for marriage counseling, for, depression, for children that are, feeling suicidal, adults that are feeling suicidal. There is, there is people that they can go and talk to. And we feel at the Arya Samaj, this is something that we need to be able to create. So our communities at large, regardless of a religious, baseline, has some place to go to be able to be heard, to be referred, and to have some place where they can, have an ability to vent. And so, over a period of time, there's been groups of the priests that have been equipped to become lay counselors as part of, I think, Module 6. I think is the priest course as well. They do things related to counseling as well. So, how do we actually put this into some type of formalized structure where there is places where people can go to? And through the visionary leadership of our president, Pandit Kiran, he's looked at, if we had to start this, let's start this in Pietermaritzburg. We have one area in Pietermaritzburg where it is a building that we can dedicate to this type of work, and that's how we started this program. So what we had actually done and why we're here today is to talk about the session that we facilitated. We took about 40 community leaders and facilitators that have done the lay counseling, etc., and looked at how do we foster safe, respectful environments, to create these healthy relationships. Roshiela, if you can just turn to the next slide. And, our vision for this was very clear. Thanks, Roshiela. Next slide. Our vision for this was very clear. We needed to be able to address a couple of things related to mental, one before, thank you. To look at mental, some things around mental concerns, suicide prevention, and gender-based violence. So our mission was really to create this dedicated community that is able to have this compassionate assistance, whether it is somebody that needs spiritual counseling, somebody that wants to understand the purpose in life, etc. So, we embarked on this journey so we could address some of these complex issues that we see here. And to walk you through what the agenda and the approach for this is, and I'm just walking through this a little bit faster than what the details is so that we can open it out to questions at the end. But Roshiela, if you can go to the next slide, please. What we've done in this program is we had taken half a day. And in the half a day, we said, let's talk about, when we think about the communities and we think about mental wellness, suicide prevention, and gender-based violence, let's define some key relationships that are impacted by psychosocial issues. And we said some of the, and we'll get into some of those relationships, but we looked at what are the key relationships we wanted to double click on. What are some of the types of abuse or types of challenges or nuances that somebody goes through as part of that relationship? So in that journey of that relationship, what that looks like. Then Roshiela had an opportunity to take us through what are some of the rights. And here we spoke about, what is the Sexual Offences Act. We touched on a bit of labor relations, etc. And she'll take you through that in a little while. Talking about perception and biasness was quite important for us to say, sometimes in relationships, and we'll take a key relationship between a mother and a daughter. Sometimes how you see yourself as a mother may not be the same way your daughter sees yourself. So what are those blind spots? And talking about those blind spots. Then talking about unconscious biasness as a term that says the judgments we make on people to say, oh, these children are lazy, they don't want to wash dishes. In my day, I used to do all of these things, keep putting that judgment on children, and that strains the mother-daughter relationship. And then what are some of the micro habits or small acts that can be done to create those changes? So we didn't just do lectures, right? what we did was we actually broke people into groups. And you would see from our Facebook post on this, we broke people into groups and we navigated to some of the real scenarios and built practical experiences on this one. So if you go to the next slide, we'll show you some of the relationships we unpacked through this. But some of the relationships we unpacked was in the workplace, sometimes the manager and employee, what are some of the challenges they deal with? What are some of the emotional abuse? What are some of the verbal abuse that could exist in that relationship? If you talk about sometimes an employee bullying another employee and sexual harassment, and how does those things impact the workplace itself? When we talk about partner to partner, whether it's a husband to wife or wife to wife, etc., what are some of the challenges they deal with in the relationship, leading to a divorce or leading to some type of maybe financial engagements between a partner? So we unpacked those things. In-laws, a mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, those are common things that in our cultural aspect we deal with. Parent to child, mother to daughter. And then we spoke about child to child and unpacked that. So we actually unpacked all of it. We gave everybody flip charts. We said, write down some of the issues and challenges you might have in the workplace, from a partner to partner, in-laws, and everybody got a chance to present those challenges that they have written up and how would they look at navigating it. So this is where all the counseling skills had come into play, where the counselors then had a chance to talk about how would they solve for these things. And so everybody had a chance to present each one of these relationships, and it gave everybody a chance to think about what is best practice. I must say at this juncture, we did have the youth that was quite strong and vocal on the child-to-child bullying. I remember it was Rithu and Arya and Akshay and Mikara facilitating these pieces, and they were very vocal about it. If people were there, you would actually know it was very interesting to see the dynamics of how they see child-to-child relationships are being unpacked. And why we did the relationships in this piece is really for us to say, we did the relationships because we know that when people come to this place, this support desk that we're building, these are some of the challenges that the counselors will then have to unpack and talk to, etc. And so we wanted everybody to have a chance to navigate through what that best practice would look like, how would you define it, and how would you coach through it as people want to unpack those challenges as well. And then I guess, as we work through it, and I'm going to hand over to Roshiela now, just to talk through, how we looked at gender-based violence and abuse, and how does that actually narrate to some of the legal frameworks that we have operating in. And so she'll take you through some of the Domestic Violence Act, Sexual Offences, Children's Act, and the prevention of harassment itself. So Roshiela, over to you to take us through a brief overview of GBV and the impact, and also some of the relationships to the legal frameworks as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Shiksha. So just from a global perspective, and it just occurred to me when you started introducing the session, Shiks, that whilst this particular project is being run under the auspices of the HEAL Foundation, and I suppose at some point we're going to have to decide where in the Samaj it fits into, but from a global perspective, I think the Samaj has made quite an active contribution towards the fight against GBV for many years now. And I think that we've been doing several presentations during the Purohit training program, where we've been trying to equip the priests in terms of basic skills relating to GBV and its associated dynamics. And also Swami Maitri and Panit Ratna Singh, they have almost on a yearly basis a session on Train the Trainer in respect of GBV and partnering with other associations as well. So I think that as a Samaj, we can stand quite tall in terms of our contributions. So moving on now into the more of the legal space and trying to structure this and this initiative, we felt now, and as I've said, that we've been doing it for many years, but we haven't really put ourselves into a structured format in terms of how we approach GBV and other family dynamics as well. And as Shiksha has already stated, one of our key area of focus is to look and to try and get counselors, when they are interacting with victims and perpetrators, to start looking at micro habits and changes through micro habits, because that is where your healing is going to come from. And our first opportunity to build some structure into the GBV policy of the Samaj has been with Pietermaritzburg, with Pandit Kiran Satgur and his team being having had the opportunity and being blessed to have a premises from which they can run a healing center, and then to incorporate the GBV aspect into that. And that's the reason why we started building a structure. And I'm going to take you through the architecture in the next slide. But in terms of the legal and policy frameworks that we have been training the counselors on, have been the Domestic Violence Act and the Sexual Offences Act, the Children's Act, and the Prevention from Harassment Act. Of course, there's lots of other legislation as well, like the Older Persons Act, that it's legislation that's often marginalized, and that we want to bring to the attention of counselors as well, that, you know, people across the spectrum, age spectrum, are vulnerable, and especially older persons within the community that we don't focus on enough. So these are the various legislations that the counselors are going to be able to springboard their interactions with when there are communicating with the victims and the perpetrators as well. Also, to keep in mind that it is very important from a legal and policy perspective for counselors and anyone being involved in this space to understand the legislation, because the various legislation also bring about reporting duties and reporting obligations as well, which includes, in certain instances, priests and people in senior positions in organizations. And if we are strong enough to build an institution of this nature, then we will have to be able to be responsible enough to meet those legislative demands as well. So the second part then of building the structure is then to have trained the counselors on how to respond to the abuse and the steps for support to the victims. And that I'm not going to do the actual training session now, but that would be basically on how the protection order works, when a victim goes to the police station, what the processes are there, what happens at court. So everybody understands what the victim is in for once she gets into the legal system. What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? And then besides the legal system, we also looked at the medical aspect, and to ensure that counselors are sufficiently aware about the need to seek medical attention for the victim, and also the importance of documenting those injuries for the purposes of maybe a future criminal prosecution, whatever the case may be, or protection order application. So this was a very exciting part of building the structure for Pietermaritzburg, is that we had basically now created all the governance structures that was going to cover the institution, the healing center. So, for example, we had to take the counselors through the POPIA Act, because not everybody is familiar with how important POPIA has become in terms of privacy rights in our country, and how often we don't give enough attention to people's privacy and information. And sometimes when we disseminate information, or we talk, in circles, we overshare information that we should be. So it means then that the healing center would have to first get an information officer. Then we would have to have your intake form templates. For example, we would have to have a terms of reference that anybody coming into the institution to assist, volunteer, or contribute in any way has to abide by terms of reference, because it deals with very sensitive issues, GBV and other associated dynamics within the community, like suicide prevention, etc. You can't just have anyone just volunteering. There has to be some structure to the volunteers coming in, because there's confidentiality agreements that need to be signed. There's a code of conduct for the people that's going to be assisting. There has to be some kind of discipline roster that's in place. So there's a continuity in our work and always availability as well. And then we also then created templates for the disclaimers and the indemnities, because we also have to protect the rights of the Samaj and the people who are counseling, privacy notices, and we had to then embark on training the counselors on how to keep counseling notes for the support sessions as well. So it was basically starting from scratch, which was nice because it was a learning curve for all of us to contribute towards too. But I can tell you that all of this has been done and we have everything in place. So once the healing center is ready to kick off, we'd be able to then we'd be able to initiate all of the governance in that regard. Then continuing onto the governance and how we operate, we obviously have to have a source for referrals, because we have to accept that our counselors, most of them who are coming in, will be your lay counselors, and they may not be the necessary professionals that the victims may need. So it means that we have to tap into, and this is now the healing center would have to network with a large number of different support service providers that will assist us either in a paid or non-paid capacity, depending on the relationship that is established. And basically, it is important then to have a list of referral resources, and that the counselor must be aware of what type of resource to refer the particular victim to. Then it was important to put into place a crisis intervention protocol. It's all well and good to have a lovely institution meeting out these services, but in a crisis situation, what would you do? What are the risks involved, and what would be the emergency protocol procedures that the counselor would have to adhere to? And it is important to have these protocols in place, because if we're embarking on this as an institution, then there has to be some accountability and in the way we conduct ourselves. There has to be a responsible way in which we interact with the victims, and also, most importantly, a very standardized way in terms of which we interact with the victims as well. To ensure that everybody gets the same kind of services from the healing center. So that was the understanding behind the crisis intervention protocol. And then finally, counselors as well, we also suffer burnout and secondary trauma from having to be in these stressful environments. So I think it is important then to also balance the scale by also having our own self-care resources as well. So Shiksha was very good in putting together a list of resources that we've also made available as well. And obviously, this is not an all-inclusive list. The list is, our partnerships are going to continue to expand as the different centers kick off over time. So these are the resources that we're going to be starting with as well. And I think it is also envisaged that once we are fully fledged into the program, that we'd be meeting with the relevant resource structures to create that one-on-one relationships with them as well. So the last part of it is now to look at how we're going to incorporate the governance of the healing centers into the Samaj, whether it would fall under a HEAL project, which it does form part of the HEAL's ethos and vision, or will it fall under the Purohit Mandal because part of it falls under there? Will it just be like a general structure in terms of the Samaj? But that is not a discussion that we're going to have now. It's a discussion that we will have to have at an EXCO level with the Samaj. But these are just the thoughts behind it. One, the importance of having such a structure, and then two, how we're going to do it. So why it is important is because it's okay to have a healing center, but there has to be accountability. That has been a sustained theme in my discussion so far, that you will encounter in instances of this nature, there will be complaints, for example, about how a counselor dealt with a particular person, and et cetera, et cetera. So it is important then to have a process whereby any kind of complaints are dealt with. We have a quality management protocol in place. We look at our performance standards, our compliance requirements with the legislation. So all of this is going to help protect the Samaj as well as it embarks on this ambitious project. And then, skills and capabilities is really an ongoing aspect of an institution of this nature. So I think that Pandit Kiranji has also arranged for Professor Jagan, who is a clinical and educational psychologist, to volunteer his services to continue to enhance the skills of the volunteers as well as their counselors. So this is something that's going to be ongoing within the healing centers as we put them together. So yes, that is what we have so far. It's quite extensive. I must say that the session that we had in Pietermaritzburg was very, very fruitful. It was also a very exciting time, and I think it's just a matter of getting the building up and running before we officially launch the whole program in Pietermaritzburg. It would be regarded as our pilot program because we will have a venue to run it from, and then we'll be having smaller sub-programs. I think our work will continue over the year in places, for example, like Malagasy and Kendall and wherever the needs are. And then I think that we've been having some discussions in Port Shepstone as well. There's some interest to start something similar in Port Shepstone. So the point is that there is a dire need for this kind of structure within the Hindu community, but also we have an amazing community that are just putting up their hands to become involved in these things as well. And yeah, it's a very exciting time for us, and it's a very healing time as well, because it means that we're doing very, very dharmic work in the community, especially when it comes to GBV. And I share my personal work experience in that regard, and to let you know how much this is needed in the community. So Panditji, I think that is what we have to say right now. It's 19:35. We're Shiksha and I'll be happy to take questions.
Okay, I think if you can stop the sharing screen, then we can, unless you still need that. So, okay.
No, it's fine.
Right. So we got Roshiela and we got Shiksha in the hot seat now. I would just like to thank you for also mentioning all the work that we are doing from an Arya Samaj point of view and also from the HEAL point of view, so that and also our participants that have joined us, they are also being made aware of what is happening behind the scenes. And just to give you a quick update from the time that we had our workshop in Pietermaritzburg, and I would like to endorse that it was very exciting. It was also something that I think we also had. It was a learning experience for us. So what we're doing now is, and as you have alluded to, that we need to get the governance part of it sorted out. But before we talk about the governance, I would like to just mention that the building is now up and ready. We have got it a situation where we have got tables, we have got chairs. We've already run an agroecology workshop there for a week and a half, so that has worked successfully. We have the facility itself is conducive for running a healing center. So what's going to happen now is that we need to sit and work out the governance part of it and the rules of engagement and from the legal point of view that you've mentioned. The second thing is that Mr. Udesh Ramesa, who is an attorney based in Pietermaritzburg, he was also part of the first workshop that we had, and he's also taken the responsibility of approaching about 6 or 7 attorneys in Pietermaritzburg, and within the next 2 weeks he set a date. I cannot give you the date because I expected him to be here, but if he's here he can tell us. But he's setting a date where he can get the legal fraternity together. So then once we have the legal fraternity together, and in conjunction with Roshiela Benji and Shiksha, but more so from the legal point of view, so that we can get all that sorted out. Then we have Professor Jagan, who's coming on the 13th and the 14th of June, where we've already got 25 volunteers from Pietermaritzburg. Some of them are retired nurses, social workers, people that are involved with the Aryan Benevolent Society in Maritzburg. We have nurses that have come on board who are part of our satsang group, and then not forgetting our priests that are in Pietermaritzburg that are also coming on board. So we have 25, and then there's 1 or 2 others from other organizations that have indicated that they want to come on board. So that workshop is going to be running on the 13th and the 14th. So from here, from this session now, what we need to do is now we need to establish that the governance part of it, the legal issues, the setting up of the center, the volunteers, and as you said, a good administrative center also, so that we can keep it. We have an office that we are setting up. We're even setting up a podcast center there. So a library has already been established. And so we're ready. We are now ready to kick off the program. So that's from Pietermaritzburg. So I would like to just say that I must thank the 2 ladies for the input and also for giving us this guidance. And I think as a pilot project for Arya Samaj, it's going to work because it's a matter of us pushing and making it work. I'm going to open the floor to the other participants that are here. You've heard the exciting workshop that we've conducted. You've heard the exciting information that has come through. So we would like input, suggestions, and even give us some sort of guidance that you would like us to take in terms of setting up in other centers. I see Aarti Ben, your hand is up. Namaste.
Namaste, Kiran Bhai. Namaste, Roshiela and Shiksha, and everyone else who's on here. I can't tell you how excited I am just listening to this. All right, because I've been talking GBV for years with the Arya Samaj, and nothing's been happening. And I'm so glad that you have now taken up on this project, and you've got such a well-structured program. That's exactly what we needed. And I can now say I can step back quietly, and I know that it's going to go ahead. All right. But as much as it's in Pietermaritzburg, we'd like to see this. I know it's in Malagasy. We'd like to see this in various areas, like we've been doing at Kenville as well, and to see this work, being shared with other areas like Chatsworth and Phoenix as well. And thank you also for keeping the principles of the Arya Samaj in mind. And this is, I can see this going on for another 20, 30 years. Yeah. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Aarti Ben. Thank you for that input. I know you are quite passionate about gender-based violence, and especially when it comes to the women's issues. Also, I would just like to mention that we also last year, just for Shiksha and Roshiela, we did 16 podcasts for the 16 days of activism.
You said
So,
so.
this is going to be an annual thing also. So, Karuna, your hand is up. You have a suggestion, or you want to give us an input?
Yeah, thank you so much to both Shiksha and Roshiela. I know I had a long conversation with Shiksha and we went round and round in circles thinking about what we can do. And now that, the ideas have actually been translated into practical action, I think it's really great. My understanding from the model you've designed is that it is modular. So you can facilitate workshops with people who are interested in understanding what needs to be done. And then, there's the issue of whether people are more interested in becoming lay counselors. And then there's the issue of whether you're going to really run a center. That's how I see the model. And I think, Kiran Bhai, this might be very useful because, Heel is a part of the Arya Samaj. So whether it sits in Heel or whether the EXCO discusses it, the point is that this is really lovely work for our affiliates to be involved in whatever way they can. And the reason I'm raising this point is 100 years ago, the Arya Samaj did work with the Anath Ashram. And today, we have a democracy. Government provides as much as they can, but government does commit to providing for those that actually are in need. And I think it's for us in the Arya Samaj now to find what is the legacy project that we want to leave for the next 100 years. And I think this can become the legacy project. So I think what might be very important then is for maybe the Heel representatives to clarify what is the cost. What was the cost of running the pilot where you just engaged and enthused people and got them to understand what are the problems in society and how best can they be tackled, and what the legislative framework is. What is the costs of that?
Okay, thank you, Karuna. I think before the ladies can answer, we've got Shanil from Arya Samaj Gauteng. He wants to obviously make a comment, and you are making notes, so then you can respond after that. Shanil, share with us what you want to say. Shanil ji. Shanil, are you there? Okay, all right. Well, let's continue with the discussion. Roshiela or Shiksha, who wants to respond to Karuna?
And I guess we just want to unpack that question a little bit more. Sorry, Shanil Bhai?
Can anyone hear me?
Yes,
yeah, now, yes, we can hear you now.
Sorry,
Okay, we still can't hear you. Okay. Shiksha, I think you continue with the...
I guess Karuna, we can just unpack what you mean by that. But I mean, the costing of it is quite interesting. I guess from the perspective of costing from a quantitative perspective is really to say that, a lot of it was sponsored. Roshiela and myself both worked as volunteers. Peter Maritzburg had sponsored all the meals and the advertising of this. And as you know, our director, Divesh, had actually, done the advertising for it, etc. So everything was done on a voluntary capacity. There wasn't any funding that was outlaid for this. except we had bought some flip charts and we had bought a couple of pens, some press stick. And so it was really around the stationery part of it from a quantitative point of view. So I'm not sure if that's really your question in terms of a costing, or you want a line item from us. We're not sure at this point.
No, I think what I'm getting to, because I think, I did ask you the question in the Centenary Committee when you presented. I think what I'm getting to is that basically, if affiliates want to actually develop a program using the framework and the model that you've developed, it's really, a very cost-effective program, because everybody is doing this in a voluntary capacity. And what you require of the affiliate is literally, their sponsorship. They're coming through with some of the things, recruiting the volunteers, advertising the thing, finding a suitable venue, and dealing with the refreshments. And Heal then comes up with the skilled facilitators, the necessary equipment that you actually need to do it. Now, that's a win-win situation for everybody in the Arya Samaj.
Thank you for that. And also, even the services of Professor Jagan is going to be free. So, but I can just say that when we set this workshop up, it depends on the affiliate, and we kept it as simple as possible and not too extravagant. So even the eats and the meals and all of that was very simple. So I would like to just go back to Shanil, if you can make a comment. Yeah, Shanil.
Yeah, sorry. Namaste, everyone. I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, now we can hear you. Yes. Namaste.
Yeah, no, perfect. Yeah, and then it exited me. So thanks. I think this is really, really interesting. I think Arya Samaj Gauteng would definitely want to become involved. I think we'll probably let you all do the initial sort of bleeding edge, implementation. And then, as you've learned, we're very happy to contribute to anything along the way. But I think once you've got it running, so I'm not sure when it will be like up and running, we'd really like to be involved. So we can be involved right from now. But I suppose we might as well learn from your experience when we implement. We are busy with a few other projects. There's some simple practical things I'm looking at, like a lay counselor. Is that like any average person? Is that the meaning of it? Who has some training, obviously, or is that a professional?
Yes,
it has basic training, and there is Lifeline that does actually certified courses and they're called lay counselors. So it's an accredited course that's being done, and there's about 10 people or so, some of the priests and others that have completed lay counseling as part of Arya Samaj.
Okay, so in Gauteng, it means that any volunteers could. They don't need a qualification. That's what I was wondering. Do they need some prior experience? They obviously need some aptitude and interest and all of those things. Yeah.
I think
that sounds good. And you also, sorry, I got a whole bunch of questions. Apologies for that. I'll speak to you afterwards as well. So you mentioned a premises. I suppose a premises is useful because people come to you rather than you going out into the community. Is that the principle behind it?
Yeah. Yes. Maybe, yeah. So, I mean, the principle behind it is, okay, we have brick and mortar, and I think a lot of people within those communities can't really, they can't really afford like to have a telephone call, etc. They want a place, they want an area where there is confidentiality, a room they can talk to people, very similar to somebody going to a psychologist. Some people feel comfortable with going to a psychologist. Some of them can do something online. So it's really dependent on what the means are, and the platform is created for both.
Okay, no, I understand. So instead of you going to say someone's house as well, because I was wondering whether you go to because that house could be unsafe as far as they're concerned. Yeah. There could also be children or other people around, which would be challenging. I'm presuming that the initiatives that you're implementing addresses both the prevention side as well as the sort of reduction of the impact on the, the person affected eventually. So it handles both sides of that kind of equation. No, it sounds very interesting. I will be in contact with Pandit Kiran in order to get in contact with you all. As I said, we're busy with a couple of other things now, but I think that we do want to start during the course of this year. I'm sure we will be able to get volunteers. So it sounds great. And obviously we'll be guided by the fact that you've done all the governance. And I understand you need the governance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shanil ji. And thanks for coming forward, especially from Gauteng. And as you know, we have some very, very big plans for Gauteng. But just to take you back on the lay preacher, you have a group of priests that are already based here in Gauteng. And you may have senior officials or even younger officials that may be interested in doing the course. And as Shiksha has mentioned, that you can do it through Lifeline. But yes, I think we are developing a relationship with Professor Jagan. And if we approach him, he could possibly do that same program that he's going to be doing in Pietermaritzburg. We can bring it to Gauteng. But let's talk outside this meeting, and then we can see how best we can work something out for you.
Just one last question. When you say Professor Jagan, you mean Vijay Jagan, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Just to be sure. Obviously, we know him very well. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah. He's well known in Gauteng.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's here. All right. Thank you.
Pandit Reshma Ramguru. Sorry, Roshiela, you wanted to say something?
No, I just wanted to add on about the actual the healing center as well. That it does offer an opportunity for confidentiality in terms of counseling and safety for the victim as well. But I think that there's long term, there's much bigger plans in terms of the healing center to have actual workshops at the healing center, have regular weekly meetings, for even perpetrators with anger management issues, for women who are victims of domestic abuse, children. So I think that's also the bigger idea as well, that it's not just going to be like a counseling center, but it's going to be multifaceted as we get our volunteers on board and start increasing the different skills that we have. So I also just want to say that in terms of the Samaj, in terms of the program that we have, but Karan Haji had mentioned that it's quite modular, that, I think we've been quite fortunate in the Samaj that we've had a lot of people come on board to be trained as trainers. And then between ourselves in the Samaj and having, different skills, because we come from different work environments, that we actually have quite a diverse range of programs that we offer to the community. So, it ranges from doing kids programs at a very basic, simple level, to doing programs for women who are victims of abuse, to doing actual train the trainer types of programs. So I think that, each of them are different individual programs on its own, but together it forms quite a vast offering that we've been able to have over the years as well. And I think we're just going to keep increasing our capacity in that regard.
Yes, I think, and there's another sector that we should also be looking at, and that's gambling, because now you can even gamble with your cell phone and you get addicted to it. Yeah. Okay, but thank you for that. Reshma ji, your hand was up. You were going to make a comment, or you want to suggest something? Reshma?
Namaste to all. I just wanted to point out some things that we had experienced. We did have a Isbingo support group for women, and we found that men were coming through too. With the, so we changed that to ISCA, to support group for the abused, and we found that they were requesting for shelter, to move away from that place where they were being abused. And there were requests for food, there's requests for financial assistance. And we found that many of the women were afraid to go ahead with the, when we advise them to take the case up or to go to the police station or to, take photographs of the bruises or yeah, whatever they had, they were not too keen to go any further. So if it's possible for us, to have a support, that legal support that they can get. But remember, they're looking for free support, right? So we need to get pro bono workers, to assist them. So these are some of the things that we experienced, and we did have a lot of Malagasy people coming through to us for help as well. Yes. So just a caution or some advice there, what we can look out for. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you, Paniji. I think Paniji's raised some very important dynamics that's going to affect the Healing Center in Maritzburg, especially with regard to requests for shelter, financial assistance, because women literally leave with just nothing but the clothes on the back, and with their kids. So it's something that we're going to have to incorporate into our discussions. And Panditji, this is why we've also creating this list of referral resources. And we're hoping that we're going to start creating our one-on-one relationships with them so that in the event of these situations arising, then we would have the relevant external resources then to refer them to as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's
Thank
going to be
you.
well.
Thank you for that. We have a chat that's come through from Pratna Dudraj. Can I just share that with you? Let's see what the chat says. Okay, Artiben has also mentioned, can we have another training session? So between Shiksha and Roshiela, let's look at maybe scheduling a training session maybe for another center. But definitely Maritzburg, it's an ongoing process and it's something that we've started. So we are going to pick up the momentum there. Pratna has mentioned that at the Malagasy event, the Lifeline mentioned there is Ward C4 at Prince Msheni Hospital, which is open 24 hours. Can somebody just give us some more information on that? Is that for the abused women? Or
Namaste, it's Pratna. I'll just elaborate. So there was the issue, which is what Pandit Reshma is relating to. And the community members felt that there was no place for them to go to. So the Lifeline counselor mentioned that Prince Msheni Hospital does have, which is what is called Ward C4, and they have the police there, there's nurses there. So as soon as an incident happens, you can take the victim to this place and they are attended to. There's various means for help that's available to them, and it's open 24 hours. So there is also a police that's there. So, they can lay their report and things there if they're too afraid to go to the police station. So this is for the Sipingo and surrounding area.
Okay.
So she mentioned, the issue is in Isipingo, and also Malagasy is under Isipingo.
Okay. Thanks for that information. Before I go to Karuna, is there anyone else that would like to share some information with us or any comments? Because we have gone over the hour. Okay, Karuna, we want to close up. So have you got any comments? And then we can close.
I just want to raise that, there are links to economic independence when you have victims of domestic violence, gender-based violence. There is that issue of ensuring economic independence. And I think in the NJVC, there are a number of programs where we attempt to skill people. But in Dresser Road at the center, there is the agroecology project that would be really useful. The other 2 points I want to raise very sharply is that, when we talk of child-to-child abuse and violence, it's actually a serious matter in terms of schools and bullying, and that's an opportunity to, do some interfaith work and get everybody else involved. The last point I want to make is that, we mustn't think that we need to do all the buildings and, put in all the resources. What we've got to do is crowd in all the resources and all the other things from both, the private sector, the religious sector, and the public sector. Because, if we widen it, there's a lot that can happen. We should merely be facilitating for everybody to participate in this kind of program. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Karuna. Shiksha has also uploaded some information for us, and I will just quickly just go to that. She says that Tutuzela Care Center. So Shiksha, if you just want to give us a second on that, tell us what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, this really refers to what Pandit Pratna was talking about, just the TCC care centers. And this is just really a list of the care centers around South Africa.
Okay, thank you so much. To our 32 participants that have joined us this evening, I would like to thank you on behalf of Arya Samaj South Africa for being present and also taking part in this conversation that we've had this evening. And as you can see that we are moving ahead with the project, the pilot project is definitely has taken off. So we are very excited about it. And I would also like to mention that whoever else that is here, and we know of other people in other centers that may need our expertise or intervention, please do not hesitate to contact us through the office, and so that we can take it further. I would like to conclude in saying thank you very much to Shiksha and Roshiela for your expertise, for your guidance, and also for bringing this whole project to the fore. And we won't let you down. And as from a Pietermaritzburg point of view, I would like to just reaffirm that we are moving. The place is ready. So it's now up to us to get it up and running. Thank you once again for being with us this evening.
Namaste, everybody.
Namaste, everyone. I'm going to ask Pratna Dudraj Pandita to lead us in Shanti Path. Thank you.
Thank you.
Om Deo ShantirantarikshamShanti Prithvi Shantirapa Shantiroshadhaya Shanti Vanaspatayah Shantirvishwe Devaha Shantirbrahma Shanti Sarvam Shanti Shantireva Shanti Sama Shantiredhi Om Shanti 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 Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you, Pratna ji. Thank you to everyone once again. Have a safe evening and enjoy your week ahead.
And you enjoy the
You will
birthday.
definitely be hearing from us. Namaste. Take care.